You mean like the Verizon man? How he kind of like seems like he's like the brother to fucking
Oh, not even that. No. Oh, from what?
From Subway. He always looks sort of like Jared, the Verizon guy.
They do look kind of like, yeah. It does look like kind of like the less grabby, less like creepy Jared. Yeah.
You know that guy's like, fuck you, you stupid fucking cunts. I do not look like Jared.
The thing with Jared was like,
there's a picture of him like at Subway eating a Subway sandwich. Like, I don't know. It looks like we got Jared here. It's like, no, I'm the fucking Verizon guy. Can't you see? Fuck. You hear me now? Like, fuck you. I'm not raping children.
Anybody who ever says that, makes that comparison, they end up in like a fucking ditch in the bottom of his basement. Just, can you hear me now? Good. It just like slams the door down on him, you know? No, but like,
I always think of some of those commercial guys. I feel like they just, after a while, they end up just retiring because they probably make so much money from doing those kind of like popular commercials that what more do you need to accomplish in life? He's probably sent at the Bahamas. Well, I guess some of those guys go, yeah, what more do you need to accomplish in life? Yeah, I'm fucking children, apparently.
The whole thing with Jared's fucking, I mean, I know this is going like months and months back, but I didn't really know the whole story. At first I thought like, okay, he probably hooked up with someone who was 17 and thought they were 18 or whatever, or he just thought he'd get by, but that already is kind of like bad enough, but like, then you kind of hear this whole story about like, yeah, he's really into like 13-year-old girls. Yeah, like a recording of him saying that shit. Like, oh fuck, oh god, it just got so much creepier. It's just like it's hard to make a joke off this shit. It's just already kind of creepy enough. Yeah, like so that's one of those things. So like, when actually I don't know, but I wasn't trying to get off on that. I was trying to get on that. Get off on that. What I was trying to say was, oh, this Jared guy just ain't doing it for me, man. I don't know what it is.
I don't know, man. Like, something about it. Like, I don't know. His porno video is definitely not nearly as good.
No, it's not as good as like it's not as good as that one like chick with black hair from like the Black Mirror. It's not as good as that one. Yeah. No, what was I gonna say?
What were you gonna say? I don't remember where the fuck we got.
I wasn't even trying to get to Jared or the you hear me now guy. I was actually gonna say real quick. I said I don't want to make this seem dismissive, so let's just get this out of the way. Then somehow we got on the Verizon guy and Jared for some reason. But Prince dying. That I guess we should just address it real quick. I'll be honest, I never really listened to a lot of Prince. I've heard I heard some of his music here and there, but I know what a big deal he is.
Yeah, I don't know. That is like a pretty huge one. I'll say this too. It's like, Team Purple Rain. I have a handful of albums of his that kind of people give me and I've listened to over time. And it's all fun stuff. He always, to me, reminded me like it was a mix of Michael Jackson and Jimi Hendrix together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's what I always felt when I was like, that's why I always thought it was cool and I was always into it. But I've never been like, I wasn't into him as much as like, let's say, Michael Jackson or Jimi Hendrix. That's weird to say it like that. But the other big death that same day that came even earlier was China from WWF died.
That was that kind of threw me a curveball too, yeah.
And she was only 45.
Only 45? They know what killed her?
No, they don't. They might by now, but on that day, nobody did.
They just, they just revealed, they just said like, oh, we have clues that may have linked to Prince's death, but I didn't even look at it just because I figured it's, why hear it from us? By the time this comes out, everyone else is probably already going to know by this point, so, yeah.
But yeah, I know.
Just like everybody probably already knows about fucking Jared's shit. But now I'm just like, a week ago, I found out, oh fuck, he was that gross. He was that fucking creepy and gross about it. Oh fuck, It's
one of those ones. I mean, like we all know celebrities die like every single year, but it seems like this year there just seems to be a little bit more than the average year. I'm not too sure. Probably.
I'm not trying to like equate someone else's life above someone else, but I guess it's because you had a lot of big ones go all at once. You had Bowie. You had Alan Rickman. You had Lemmy. Yeah, now you got Prince, and not trying to discredit her or make her seem like less of a big deal, but China, she was really big back in the 90s. So.
Well, yeah, because that's like, as far as like a female wrestler goes, that's such a big impact. Maybe nowadays, like some people might not think of it, but like for that time period, it was that she was like the first female wrestler who kind of made this big impact. She won a bunch of belts that no other females ever won beforehand. And to top it off is whenever they had female wrestlers, they were always kind of like haggard and scary and like, also like circus sideshows. Where she actually was like, oh well, she's built well, she's decent looking, like all this stuff. Like, I mean, she kind of had everything going for her. People really liked her a lot as far as the wrestling goes. So that is in that world, it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. So it makes you kind of wonder. I mean, I don't know. I'm sure things will come up soon enough, but it could have been something as fucking shitty as cancer, or even like maybe just an overdose of some kind.
Yeah, you never know this day and age. Sometimes like all those things get. This is what I've almost pieced together. It seems like a lot of people from like that 80s, 90s lifestyle are all the ones kind of taking the hits, or you can even say from 70s. And I think it's due to a lot of times to just the certain shitty food that was processed throughout after post World War II. I think that's what's killing off a lot of people and giving out all these diseases and stuff. It's when we all ended up when the company started manufacturing all this crap that like shouldn't have been ate in the first place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And obviously, yes, it does do the thing where, in America you can go anywhere. There's no such thing as starvation in America. Even if you're like a hobo, it seems like there's people still giving out food left and right for you and all this kind of stuff. In the U.S., we surplus of it. And, it might be sort of due to having these things. Being able to have a cheese that can fucking last for 3 years in a bomb shelter, where you couldn't really do that with, like, a lot of regular food. If you had a plant down there, it'd be fucking gone in a week. If you had meat, it would go, rotten after a while, unless maybe it was frozen for long enough. So, okay, there is something to be said about having that bomb shelter type food that can last, but in general, I think that stuff just
gets... In the case of bomb shelter, though.
Yeah, in the case of, like, survival, yeah, but, like, I think... I feel like I'm linking it all together, all that stuff, because, you just look at sort of the way I eat and all that stuff. There's just certain, like, lies that were told to people. Well, maybe they weren't lies, but they had bad research at one point in time where people are still eating this kind of crap because they're like, well, I remember when they said this was good in, like, 1986, but it's like, but by now they figured out that it's like, no, that was actually really bad. The way you want to eat is almost like your great-great-grandmother. That's the best way.
I remember one time one of my nephews, I don't know how he got up, but in one of his textbooks, there's an old graphic. I'm like, Uncle Ryan, what is this? And look, it's the fucking food pyramid. I'm like, oh, shit. Stay away. It's the food pyramid. It's lying to you. Yeah.
That was our 90s childhood right there. And we thought that was the way you're supposed to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's going to be a thing. That's going to be
fucking like bread is the most important thing on there. Like, Billy, you get your wheat thins, your Cheez-Its, your bread, your pastas and all this stuff. Like, because what it's like it tells you to eat like 9 or 10 servings of that.
I think like bread was the base. Bread was the
bread was the very bottom.
Then it was meat. Then
it was fruits and vegetables was the next one up, because I mean it wasn't really the worst way you could eat, but it was just the thing that I think the only thing really wrong with that chart is that bread just shouldn't have been the main source. But I think at that time period it's easy to feed someone with bread.
I think that's probably it was probably the most easiest thing to produce. So they just kind of like, just throw bread on there. We saw that shit the most.
Well, there was this interesting.
Wonder Bread probably put some money into that.
There was this thing that I was reading in one of my workout books or something like that. They're talking about this research back in the day of in the Middle Ages with the Black Plague and all that stuff. And what they kind of like attributed a lot of this stuff to is the fact that at that point, once farms and people stopped kind of being hunter-gatherers and all this stuff like that, people's, their main diet for at least the poor people, if anything, was a lot of bread stuff. Everything was bread. Like, that's almost what they survived off of. They mostly never had meat. They never had dairy. They had scarce, amounts of maybe fruits and vegetables, but bread was always something that they had. Everything kind of bread-oriented. So these people there are eating this, and they've kind of attributed it that people that a lot of times eat in those farm lifestyles like that, they end up becoming shorter, weaker, and then all these diseases started forming, where you take somebody like the Native Americans at the same time period who are pretty much still in like a hunter-gatherer style, living off the land, all this stuff like that. They're taller, stronger, then they have none of these diseases until the Europeans come over and then bring all their fucking Black Plague bread-eating diseases. Bread-eating motherfucking sea biscuit-eating pirates coming by.
Yeah, that's a pretty good point right there.
It's just one of those ones. It's interesting to think about things like that. That ends up kind of affecting it. And when you kind of have too much, you just don't want too much bread. It's just like that's the key thing. Even though bread tastes fucking good, you just don't want too much of that.
I guess it's kind of like the air quotes. Like you blinked out there for a minute, so I'm not sure if we're already on a different subject. But static
and bread being like
a step before that, though. It's kind of like it's like air quotes, the civilized people came and then fucked everything up.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's already been said 1,000 times by them. But I mean, literally just through dieting, just through just the way they were living.
Well, it's funny. It's the thing.
Not just like
it's
coming
like
in and
farming.
just not just like the whole thing of like, that's a nice tree, knock it the fuck down and make it a house. I don't even mean that. Just like,
yeah, where's your fucking gold? Like,
just the idea of
here
just
it is
like,
right here. It's called corn or maize. It's like, no. Where's the fuck hard ass shit that I can sell to some stupid fucking Italian when I go back to Europe?
Oh, here we got some vegetables. Like, fuck that shit.
Slaps it out of his fucking head. Like, yeah, right. I got a fucking sea biscuit here. I don't need your goddamn fucking vegetables. The queen says I could fucking live off these for years. You should see her fucking. She doesn't even have a pyramid. It just says one thing: eat your fucking bread. Because you know what? I'm the queen and I get the fucking meat.
Even in like, it's like meats in italics, like it's emphasized right there in the letter.
Well, you know what's kind of a weird thing I always thought? It's like, you know how like when you see like in Rome and they always show like in a movie like that and it's some fat guy and he's always eating like grapes or something like that. It's like, well, that guy's clearly not getting fat off the grapes. That's all I can tell you. But they always, there's always like some fat guy like lounging on a chair and somebody's like
fanning
got their fan on. Yeah,
he has the
eating, like,
Washington
grapes.
wig. Usually has like rosy red cheeks.
Yeah, it just looks like such like an ass, just like, here, write down my documents so that the people can, tax more. Oh, it's so hard for me to eat these grapes.
They're just like dipping like bread and gravy and just jamming it into his mouth
Like,
for
oh.
No, like shit, what was it? There is going back to white people fucking up civilizations. This is like I don't remember where I saw. I think it may have been in Drunk History. It was one of those things like this doesn't surprise me, but it's just kind of funny. Like when they first came across Hawaii, when I believe it was someone from England. I don't remember who, but just Europeans came by to Hawaii.
Well, it's like that, and then there's Captain Hook. It wasn't like the first guy there, but they all kind of came over when they came around South America and said, "Hey, look at this place we found."
Yeah, and they get there, and they're just talking. They're all talking. They're like, "These guys think we're gods. These guys think we're more like, oh no, we're just like, party, you can hang out. We don't think you're gods. There's obviously a language barrier there, and they just lounge there. We're getting drunk, fucking their women, and like eating their food for like 3 weeks. And eventually he's like, dude,
party's fucking over.
You guys gotta fucking go. Yeah, it was fun for like the first few days, and we tolerated for the week. It says, yeah, I'm your god. It's like, no, you're fucking not. They just kill the guy right there.
Yeah, that was Captain Cook that they ended up killing. That's a good
Captain
book.
Cook?
Yeah. And because it's King Kamehameha, like at that time period.
Okay, so you already have an idea. You're like, let me educate Spencer on some fucking history. Like, oh, he knows that. Okay.
I read the Captain Cook book like way back in the day, like when I was like, I don't know, 12 or something like that. It was a good fun experience of like Hawaii.
I read about it in a book when you were 12. You saw it on a Comedy Central show.
I see where you get your knowledge. There's something else I can't think of it right now, but like I was hearing some other kind of fun facts on like old Hawaii and all that stuff. But that's how it was. Like a lot of those areas, the people were always much more healthier by, in a sense, not turning things into cities, not having agriculture, not farming. It's funny how farming is like actually like looks like the root of like destroying things. You can turn that off. But it's weird. The people that kind of just lived free spirited, ate everything, followed the herd, all this stuff. They're the ones that stronger, healthier, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends like what you think.
We have a tendency to fuck shit up. We do.
Well, it's like I was talking to another guy the other day. I was like, here's also the difference too, because there's always like back in the day, people always wonder like, why are these people like such savages and like hanging out? Well, here's the thing. When you live in a tropical area your whole life, it's like you're always on fucking vacation. Your life is literally vacation.
Yeah.
So, and I think when you're in like Northern Europe, everything is it's cold. There's fucking not enough food for everybody. It's shitty weather all the time. You know what I mean? You gotta fucking get a job and shit. Like, you gotta put fucking clothes on and everything. So I think when they see that there, it's like they get all pissy because it's like, why is these guys gonna be on fucking vacation 24? What the fuck? What the fuck? I had to work for that. I had to fucking sail this goddamn ship, eating sea biscuits and fucking drinking ale. So they get all pissy when they show up.
Only thing I got to fuck is the guy who like swabs the poop deck.
Yeah, fucking Charlie.
Swabbing his poop deck soon, yeah.
Swabbing his poop deck.
Every once in a while you'll hear about like those stories about like, like old traditions they do at on boats and on back on like old sailor traditions. And one was, I think it was a whaler tradition. They would literally like, it's like that really, it's like juvenile but like almost like borderline homicidal shit, where they would like, I want to say whaler ships, if it was like they got some young kid on there that was doing whatever miscellaneous job. They get them there, and then like someone would come by presenting themselves, I am the ghost of previous people that died on this ship, and they like fucking throw them in a bunch of fucking oil, throw feathers on them, kind of like, it's like fucking hell week or something, trying to get into a fraternity. And then they hang up, they hold him over like the fucking edge of the boat. Like he's like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I pledged myself. Like, oh, we're just fucking with you. You're not going to see hell or whatever.
And then after that, you're like, it's okay, dude. We'll get drunk together, fucking hang out, be okay. Like one of those.
Suck each other off. Wait, what was that last part? Nothing.
It's like fucking Animal House or something.
Yeah. Now go clean that shit up. Yeah. No, you got to keep the feathers on.
It's just that thing too. It's just like, having a woman on board's bad luck. It's like, yeah. And plus, if you have a woman on board, I mean, like all us men, we can keep the secret of being gay like a secret, But if a woman's there, she's gonna tell everybody that like there was a bunch of guys on there butt fucking each other, like getting drunk, and
they're gonna be all yappy and the way women are.
Yeah, I can't have people tell. I can't be going back to shore and being like, I mean, maybe people know that we're a bunch of faggots on the boat, but I mean. I think about it, it's like, that's kind of like, a thing of the sea, It's a man with man, fighting whales and fucking sailing the sea. I mean, you just get close that way, and next thing you know, you're at a fucking gay orgy, drinking ale and eating sea biscuits.
It always ends with like a dick in someone's mouth while eating sea biscuits. No, what was the one, like, shit, what was it? I want to say there was an example I was going to make, and it was still revolving around sea shit or shit.
Sea shit or shit. Or space shit.
Sea shit or shit. Oh, fuck. This is going lovely. Fuck it. We'll go on to the next thing. It'll come back to me in a minute, probably, when we're like, I'll probably cut you off mid-sentence. Oh, I know! Like,
I know, I remember what I was talking about.
Oh, actually, no, I kind of do. It actually was something, it wasn't really about, like, whaling, but it's like that kind of shit, like, there's that whole thing like, women, they just kind of fuck shit up. We don't need to bring them on the boat. It's kind of like, we're kind of getting past that point where that attitude. Maybe we've been past that.
I don't know. Maybe if we go talk to a bunch of sailors, they're like, no, you don't bring women on it. Fuck, they're gonna tell
still that way. Like,
and nowadays it's worse. They're gonna fucking Instagram us like butt fucking each other.
That's why you never see him on Deadliest Catch.
Exactly. There's no women on Deadliest.
There was like one of those things that you would never get away with today, but it's kind of surprising how like I'm not trying to be one of those guys who's overly PC, like the heathens back then, but it's one of those things. Like, it's kind of surprising how like some of it wasn't even that long ago. Some of this kind of shit, but no way you get away with that today. Like I may have mentioned this one before. Like there's an episode of the Flintstones where. They got a voice. They got like a answering machine or something like that. And of course, it's a parrot because it's the Flintstones. So it's a living thing. And like Wilma was showing it to Barney, and she's like, "Huh, seems kind of weird how it's a man's voice instead of a woman's voice." And then like Barney's like, "Well, if it was a woman's voice, it would probably never shut up." The audience laugh track picks up, and Wilma's like, "Yeah, I guess you're right."
That's okay. That's just good old like World War II generation like style comedy.
Yeah. That's where like the family watching that, the husband just like he's laughing, slapping his knee, looks over at his wife. You're not laughing.
It's just like you and me. She's like, you're the one who just never shuts the fuck up.
God damn it, Agnes! You laugh. You laugh at the cartoon. You laugh at the cave people.
Then it just becomes angry '70s family, or just everything's fucking pissy.
Like F is for family or something.
Yeah, like that. Or even like that 70s show is kind of like that too. It's just all fucking red form and just that man where nothing is good in life. It's just everything is angry and
that's what
pisses him off.
That's what I love so much. I can't remember the last time I saw a show that was so like brutally relentlessly angry like 70s family like F is for family.
That show is such a. It only had like 6 episodes for that first season, but it's just like so funny. And it's one of those ones you can show it to some people and the people be like, "This is fucking horrible," but like I don't know what it is. Like I just love when just like it's just people yelling at each other the whole time. I don't know why that's funny. In real life, it probably wouldn't be that funny, but like on TV and as a cartoon, it's hilarious.
Well, it's even like some of the shit he says to his kids. Like he's like, you stay away from that girl on Spooner Street. I don't want no half slut grandchildren. Says I'm doing nothing. Yeah, I was doing nothing once. How do you think you got here?
No, that one just had always like so many great lines in it.
Or just like the small shit. Like we're talking the like what it's like to be like African American in white culture, hosted by a white guy. You know.
Or I love the one where like the fucking dad comes upstairs to like the kids in the room and he's like, "We're having fucking meatloaf for dinner." And stuff, and the Justin Long older one's like, "Oh man, meatloaf, that sounds fucking shit. I don't want that." He's like, "You pay the fucking bills around this house?" "No." "What do you complain about free fucking food?"
Yeah. Free food. Fuck you complaining about.
I just love that. What are you fucking complaining about?
Bill Burr's awesome. I love Bill. I love that show.
Oh,
I hope it gets a second season, but if it only had those 6 episodes, that'd be fine because it was just such a good show.
Yeah, it's already pure with those. But this is kind of like a sort of off topic, but not really. Speaking of, I was watching the Zorro movies like a couple weeks ago. I went back and I bought the Mark of Zorro, the 1940s Tyrone Power one, which really just sounds like a superhero name when you think about that. It's like it sounds like somebody who could have been like one of the side characters with like Iron Fist and like Marvel. Like, oh, who's that? Well, that's Tyrone Power.
Tyrone Power sounds like a industrialist, like kind of like maybe someone who was Tony Stark's like rival, and they started off as kind of like, you know, the other Iron Man, but then kind of they became friends. They're kind of like bitter friends later down the line,
like
you
rivals, like in a sense.
Kind of rivals, yeah. I guess if there's a word for that, yeah.
But yeah, you know, because he's one of those good old actors, kind of like that swashbuckling fun, maybe like that. Same time as like Errol Flynn and things like that. And it was like, I haven't seen that movie in such a long time. And then I got the cool, like, colorized version of it, which, you know, me personally, I kind of like when they do the colorized version of old black and white movies. I find it kind of fun. I know there's some of those kind of purists out there that go, "Man, ruins the integrity of the movie," and all this stuff. And here's the thing. Just like a remake of a movie, you always still have the original one. It never took that away from you. It's not like they went out in the second they're like, "We got a color version of it. Burn all the other film. Burn all the black and white. We don't want to see that anymore." It's not like they did that. You know, you got choices. And even on this copy, it's got both on there. And something I've always kind of been interested in. I would love to go to, like, some studio that digitally colorizes this, because I've always wanted to see that process. I mean, I have an idea, and I kind of know how they sort of do it, where they kind of almost take each frame and somebody goes in there and kind of colors it, and then sometimes the computer can kind of fill in, like, the next handful of frames if not a lot changes. But I always kind of wonder, it's just like that thing of picking the colors. Like, you know, I mean, obviously there's, you know, there might be, you can look at some of the wardrobes, you know, you're going to know some of the colors of, you know, water and plants and all that kind of stuff. But in general, though, you're making still these decisions on, like, what these colors are going to be. Like, some of that stuff is like, how do you know that guy's t-shirt's red? How do you know this is that? It's like, who's making that decision?
Some controversy comes out, like, some years later, like, turns out Kelly Grant was actually a black dude.
Yeah.
You know?
But I still think they're always kind of, because you watch some of those colored versions and it almost feels like you're watching sometimes like just a whole different like cut of the film, even though you're not really. Like, I got a cool version of Night of the Living Dead, and at first I thought that was gonna be kind of hokey watching in color, and that might end up ruining the integrity of the film. But it was like, no, that was great. I felt like I saw all these things I never noticed before.
That's one I'd have trouble watching in color. I'm sure probably because I think the black and white and like, you know, all the, I don't know, I'm having trouble imagining some of the violence in that movie in color, but I have to check it out at some point. I just want to correct myself. I just realized Kelly Grant did eventually get into Cary Grant. Did I say Kelly Grant or Gary Grant?
Kelly.
Kelly Grant?
Cary
Grant. There is a Kelly Grant in there somewhere, though.
Oh, yeah, somebody's probably named Kelly Grant.
I thought maybe it was Gary Grant. I just realized, well, whoever it is I'm thinking of, I realized, oh, wait, that guy eventually did do colored movies. So I look like a fucking dumbass. Never mind.
That's okay. Well, he did a bunch of black and white movies, so I thought it still felt...
Yeah.
But
it worked for the moment.
But no, I always think that process kind of... There's something cool about that. And I know it's like that. It's like, it's got to be such a time to, you know, take a 2-hour long movie and you got to go in by, you know, each frame, or at least every handful of frames and color. I mean, if a computer, it's better, but still, I mean, they've been doing that since like the 70s in a sense. I mean, there was technically different versions of color before when they painted on it, but they've been doing the computer style color since the 70s, all those things going up. It's just such a neat process, though. And I do think, in my personal opinion, I think it's kind of cool. Like, I got It's a Wonderful Life, and I got the colored version. I like that. It was fun that way. Why not? You know, and I'm not saying anything against black and white, because I love black and white films, too. But it's kind of cool. You know what would be an interesting one to see at some point? Is if they did, like a Clerks digitally colored one, just for the hell of it. It's one of those. It's not gonna ever take away from the original one, but it'd just be interesting to see because it almost sort of like changes a little bit of the dynamic or anything like that.
That'd be interesting thing to see. I'm surprised they haven't tried to do something like that yet. But that's one of those things where when it comes to black and white stuff, I'm surprised how much black and white is a turnoff for people. Like if you're a little kid or whatever, I get it. But I'm surprised how many adults are kind of like, oh, it's black and white. I just can't get past that. Like that bothers them so much.
Oh, well, that was the whole reason for why they started coloring movies in about the 80s was because they knew that people kind of were turned off by these old ones. And secondly, companies realized that even though it costs kind of a bit to do the coloring of it, it was kind of worth it because then they could almost like re-put the movies back in the theaters or anything like that. And they realized they'd get like all this extra money off these old films that they technically didn't have to make again other than just recoloring them. And yeah, it's weird though because you meet people and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I didn't watch fucking Clerks. It was in black and white. I watched about the first 5 minutes. I couldn't get into it." And it's just so weird. It's
not sure if that person would even like the movie anyways. Like, oh, it's too much talking.
Yeah, if you can't handle black and white, it's just a weird one too. It's like you don't like black and white. I mean, I could see if you go like, well, I just don't feel the mood right now for a black and white movie, but I don't know. It's that and subtitles are always the two that get people like a lot. But to me, black and white's it's pretty easy to watch black and white. Where subtitles feels like okay, you got to be like somewhat alert to watch that. Or black and white, like who fuck cares?
Sorry to kill the pacing. I'm actually let's put a pin in it for a second.
Take a break.
My internet connection's kind of fucked. Let me try something real quick, and we'll pick this up in a second.
Okay, I don't know where we are. We're talking about black and white movies and the process of transferring them all over to color and all that fun stuff and how people can't handle it.
Cheaper way of making a remake.
Yeah, I guess that's kind of like how it is. Definitely cheaper that way. Well, at the end, not really, I guess, necessarily a remake. It's more like...
You can almost sell it as a remake to people who probably wouldn't have any interest in seeing it eventually. I mean, I'm sure before it was one of those things like, it's in black and white. Ew. Now we're at the point, it looks old, so now we got to fully remake it.
Yeah, well, because nowadays they like remake movies that aren't even that old.
Yeah. There is one I mean, every once in a while there's kind of a remake coming out that just be like, yeah, okay. I mean, it doesn't need to happen, but we'll see what happens. And there's some where, even though this is technically a remake of a remake, I am so fucking down for this movie. And I think you know what I'm about to mention. For
the Magnificent Seven remake one?
I mean, I heard that was coming out. And earlier version, I heard Tom Cruise was producing it, and he may still be producing it. He was going to star in it, and I was like, okay, whatever, it'll probably be cool. And it's one of because I think it's one of those movies. It's such a simple story, it can be remade because it is like. Don't get me wrong, I love Magnificent Seven, and I like Seven Samurai. It's a pretty good movie. I only saw it once, but I love Magnificent Seven, and. So you think I'd be more opposed to it, but I think something like that, something that is simple, could be actually remade and just, tweaked slightly here and there.
Well, that to me, I'll say this: movies that old, I think, are fine to be remade because it's like, what year's Magnificent Seven? 64, 65, something like that.
Somewhere like that, somewhere in like the early to mid 60s, and it was actually the thing about that movie is. I mean, it doesn't need to be remade because I think the movie's fine as is. Mm-hmm. But every once in a while, I think that it's not even a matter of like, okay, I can't imagine really, even though there's been a made-for-TV one of it, I can't imagine a Casablanca remake. I don't know how you would retell that story exactly. But I don't know, something about a Western. I think Westerns can be remade. I think, I think A Fistful of Dollars might be a little hard to do because that was so stuck in people's mind. But I mean, Westerns, they crank those things out so frequently that it's like, I'm not trying to disparage Magnificent Seven, but I think for a lot of people, it was just a fun Western movie. It wasn't like, some amazing piece of art, which I do love that movie.
Well, I know that movie is kind of looked pretty fondly upon, so it's not like
it's looked fondly upon, but I think it's probably more looked fondly upon as like I'm not trying to bring it down or like lower it. I think it's more looked at as just like a really good, fun movie. Like, I don't think it's viewed as a movie that really changed the industry. Say something like a
Once Upon a Time in the West, which is
Once
always
Upon a
that
yeah,
one's always referred to as one of those like game-changing movies. But
yeah, exactly. Or like any other number, not even Western, just any other kind of like, something like I almost said, I almost said Scarface, but never mind. That's getting remade, and that was a remake.
yeah,
So
that
never
was already
mind.
a remake of a '30s movie. But see, I think as long as there's
That,
like a big enough gap in time, I think it's okay to sort of remake a movie because then it doesn't really interfere on like the integrity of the film. It's so much later, anyways, and if anything, it just kind of sparks more interest in bringing the original ones back. Where when you remake something that's only like 20 years old, it's kind of like by that standard, you should just make a fucking sequel. You know what I mean? That's still not that old that you could make. It's kind of like the Point Break one. It would have been interesting to kind of make, if you were going to make that movie, you should have made it like a sequel and have it be, okay, well, here's Keanu Reeves, but there's this other gang that he's tracking down that kind of are stealing the ideas of like, it's still a weird one to kind of make, but I think that's cooler to do where it kind of comes back almost like a Creed to Rocky instead of just
mhm.
doing a full on remake when the movie's not
Or
nearly as that old or that series isn't nearly as old.
or you do it kind of like it is a sequel, but in some ways it's kind of a remake, kind of like Force Awakens, something kind of like that, where
Yeah.
it was still a sequel, it was still pushing it forward. But if you never saw any Star Wars movie before
It was
that,
a good jump on point.
yeah, because the thing what's clever, what I think is kind of smart about that is when you watch the original trilogy, they talk about this other stuff that happened in the prequels, which weren't there at the time. But you're like, okay, that's just legend in these people's world.
Mm-hmm.
So when you get to Force Awakens, if you've never seen the other stuff, Luke Skywalker is some legendary guy. Okay, I guess we're looking for Luke Skywalker. Oh, who's, you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
and like, oh, Hans, this guy knows Luke Skywalker. Who's this Luke Skywalker? So I guess for anybody who didn't know, which what do you do in that movie anyway? But even if you didn't
Yeah.
know,
I guess
I think
it's always somebody's first kind of Star Wars, you know? You never know which one they start with nowadays.
yeah. So I think that does work. The only thing I think they probably could have done different was rather it could have been like another planet other than a desert planet they started off on.
Yeah.
Beyond that,
Yeah.
though, beyond that,
You could have just done a little bit less of kind of like, I guess,
like a water
rehashing.
world planet.
Yeah.
Like a
Yeah.
water,
Change up the scenery maybe just so it doesn't feel like it's kind of a remake and throw more lightsabers in there to. Because I keep talking to people that like it's all the fans of 1, 2, and 3 don't like that movie very much. They like the people that enjoy the prequels. They don't really care for Force Awakens. The people that seem to like 4, 5, and 6 as their favorite ones, they seem to really like Force Awakens. You know, it's kind of funny how that is.
I really liked Force Awakens. I liked it when I saw it. I liked it a lot more once I got it and watched it on Blu Ray a few times. So it is still, I mean, like I said, I already liked it a lot when I first saw it, but the more I see it, I think it's a better movie. But something about Magnificent Seven, though, that I want to say. I'm like looking forward to this movie the way I'm looking forward to like whatever new Batman movie comes out.
This one just looks balls to the wall action. It looks intense, but feels very Western still.
And I was just watching the trailer and I was just like, 'cause I didn't know it, because I heard it was going to get made. And then I was like, okay, we'll see who happened. Then I'm like, I wonder if Tom Cruise is still in it. Then the first cowboy they show is Denzel Washington in the role of Yul Brynner. I'm like, oh, fuck. Oh, fuck. That's, oh, God. And then like all of a sudden, like, who's the Steve McQueen character? Like, I think, in all honesty, I think who would have been perfect for Steve McQueen character? Brad Pitt. But we've got someone else who, I mean, I understand that's two major powerhouses. I think I think a really good choice what they got though was Chris Pratt.
Yep. Yeah. So I was like, that's fucking badass.
Oh, you got Chris Pratt, and then you got I always have trouble pronouncing this dude's name, but you got he's a South Korean actor. He was in I Saw the Devil. He was Shadow Storm in the G.I. Joe movies. He was the bad and the good, the bad, the weird. Just an awesome action. I think Boon Young Wing or something like that. He's playing the Charles Bronson character, throwing fucking knives and shit. Like, oh my God, I can't.
It's just
I
like
can't
such perfect casting.
And then they got, I don't really know who everybody else is, because the characters that really, because the thing about Magnificent Seven,
It's like 3 of them stand out, and the other 4 kind of hang out.
once you kind of pinpoint what each one is, there's one, all right, because you got Yul Brynner and Steve McQueen, which that's kind of like it's really to me that's kind of like George Clooney, Brad Pitt kind of dynamic in Ocean's 11,
Hmm.
where one guy's the main man, the other guy's kind of his right hand man, but he has no problem talking shit to him, or they're both kind of like just very kind of like bare bones and straight with each other.
Hmm.
You got you got Charles Bronson, who's the knife thrower.
Yeah.
You got the guy who's there strictly for the money. He says this place has gold. Why else are these guys coming here? This place got gold. Then there's the guy who he's good at what he does, but he's kind of cowardly. He has trouble doing what he does.
Hmm.
Then there's James Corbain's character, who was the he was his whole thing is like I don't really know what made him stand out amongst the group, but he had kind of a connection with like two of the kids in there, and like we wish our families were more like you. He's like, you don't want to be me. Like he was the gunslinger with a past. He's like, you don't want to be a gunslinger. This is no life. Your family's way braver than any of us for like sticking up to these guys because they don't kill and this and that. And then you had the young guy. There's the
Yeah.
young Mexican guy, and that was probably your third main character of the movie.
Who's supposed to be kind of like almost like the audience member, like, hey, here's if you were just kind of thrown into this.
He was the relatable guy. He was a little hot-headed, but he was also the audience. They kind of like took that character is like a fusion of two other characters, because back in the
Seven Samurai.
Seven Samurai, I guess I don't remember that one as well. But there was the guy who had the really long ass sword, who was kind of hot-headed. He was kind of the badass. He was like their wild card.
Hmm.
He was basically a fusion between that guy and the rookie samurai.
Yeah,
'Cause
that's
in Seven
true.
Samurai, so that's who the young Mexican dude was in Magnificent Seven. So this one, I mean, I don't really know who the rookie guy is in this. They could be flip flopping around. Chris Pratt, maybe a little bit of that, or Ethan Hawke's in there. I don't know who he is playing exactly. The only ones I really know who's who, or at least in the places, is Yul Brynner. There's Denzel Washington is Yul Brynner,
Hmm.
Chris Pratt, Steve McQueen, and then the Korean dude as Charles Bronson.
Yeah. No,
And then the girl is the it's the two Mexican people going in like we gotta find some gunslingers.
yeah, no, that trailer when I saw it, I was like, oh, because I knew that was coming out, and I was like, well, before I even knew it, I'm like, well, that's gonna be cool though, because anything Western this day and age, it's like you should just be grateful it comes out. And I will say, this year seems like a good year for Westerns, because not only we
Jane's
getting
Got a
this, we had Jane's Got a Gun. It came out, which even though it came out to limited theaters, so I was kind of sad, but and then you also got that Matthew McConaughey Civil War movie coming out, so it's like at least we're getting more westerns than we normally get, because in general it seems like you get about 1 to 2 a year, and one of them's kind of hidden, and the other one comes out at the theaters, but doesn't mean people really see it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot about the Matthew McConaughey Civil War movie.
That one looks so good. Have you seen the trailer for it yet?
I think I might have.
I've seen it like 3 or 4 times at the theaters. It's the one where he's like, I'm not going to fight in your Civil War or whatnot. And he gets his kids together and stuff, and then he gets all these black people and he frees them, and they're like out running through like the swamps and bayous fighting off Confederates and everything.
Did you see the trailer for The Birth of a Nation?
No, but I knew that they were remaking that one too.
It's not so much a remake. It's more of kind of like it's sort. I guess it to some extent it's not really a remake because it's kind of like I guess it's almost trolling the original by taking the name. But what it's doing is it's about Nat Turner. It's his story, and they're just taking the name Birth of a Nation. And in Birth of a Nation, it was a lot more. It's so fucking racist and so over the top. It's you can't help but kind of like it makes you a little. It makes you mad, but at some points it's so just over the top. You can't. And it's so old timey. You kind of chuckle at it because but it kind of takes the idea of like, okay, so they do have an uprising, but it's from the slaves' perspective, and it's Nat Turner's story about that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it happened in the 1830s or 40s, somewhere around there.
Yeah, that's another one of those movies going back to like what like really changed. That's why that movie's always kind of been kept around, just for the fact that there was all these ridiculous techniques and film, and big sets and grand scope all put into this old silent film.
And that's like a 3-hour movie.
Oh yeah, it's like 3.5 hours long. It's really fucking long. I've only seen it once, but it does have a lot of these things, which is kind of weird because it's like the camera was only invented maybe like 15, 20 years before this movie, and then you kind of just see all the shit like they've put into it in this short amount of time. Because there's some movies like D.W. Griffith also made these other like big ass fucking like
He did, like
epic
a
movies.
Christian movie, right?
Yeah,
Did he like do like
so like, but
Christian
you, like you'd see the sets in these things and stuff like that, and they were like mind blowingly like badass. They put movies a day to shame, you know, like that's how good they were.
Mhm.
It's just that time period where I think just like people just had ideas and money, and this was a new thing, and they weren't making things cheap. I mean, they were trying to make as much as possible, but I think they just put a lot of like, dude, we've never done this before. Well, let's make it look fucking totally badass.
Mhm.
So it's just like that's always like the coolest part about sometimes some of those old silent movies is I love the sets. The sets are always so cool in them.
Mhm. No, I get you. Yeah, and I'm not, the original like Birth of a Nation. I mean, it's not like one of those things. Let's pop that on and watch that. It's not that, but you got to give it credit. Like, oh well, it did push shit forward. Too bad the message is fucking horrible. But it's one of those things like you gotta, for like on a technical level, you got to give it that at least.
Oh yeah, I mean you can't be like that judgy on those kind of things. It's like when somebody does something good, you've got to give respect where it is. But yeah, it's kind of weird though to use that. I don't know. That thing to me is like go back and be like, yeah, we're gonna do Birth of the Nation, but it's not really a remake. It's kind of like we're gonna go off this other story, but we're gonna use this title for just to sell it. I don't know. Like that right there just kind of seems like just let history be history. Like you don't need to go in there and try to like that. Just seems very PC-ish. Like we're gonna we're taking it back. We're gonna change it around. And I'm like, I don't know. It's kind of like I remember this movie back in the day. It was called like the Confederate States of America or something like that. And it's supposed to be like,
Oh, that. Yeah.
it was like, what if like the Confederate States like took over everything? Almost like kind of that story of like, what if the Nazis took over the entire world? You're like, that sounds fucking cool. I want to see what that is. I want to know because that's just like those ideas of, like, what would that be like? It's the same thing as like a post-apocalyptic world. What happens? It's like we don't want atom bombs to go off, but I do want to know kind of what would happen if it did. And with that one, it was just an interesting concept. Like, what would happen? But it was kind of made by like these black guys, and it was just that thing where it's just like, yeah, there's just dumb fat white people everywhere. That's just what it is, and they're racist and all this stuff. And it's like they only focus on the racist aspect. And it was like, oh, you don't realize that a confederacy is actually a government, it's not a racist thing at all. It's just happened to be that there was racist people that did it, but it was fucking retarded. It was just one of those movies where it's just like they were just trying to go like, look how racist this is, look how racist these guys are, and it's like fucking.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, it was fucking dumb. The concept sounded cool. I remember reading the back. I'm like, that's gonna be badass. And then you read it's like, oh, it's fixed to something like almost like like in a sense like a Wolfenstein game where you get to watch like the world taken over by Nazis, but instead Confederates. I'm like, this be awesome. Like people fucking, you got these like Union guys fighting off against them like little like packs and everything. But it's like, nope, it wasn't like that at all.
It did just kind because it kind of goes through like like if the Confederacy did win the war, what it would be like today, and everything was still kind of like, I mean, I'm not trying to sound like dismissive of it, but everything was built around like entirely on slavery, which I think, in all honesty, I'm not trying to give the Confederacy too much slack or anything. I think in time, though, maybe not as soon as it happened, but in time, what probably would have happened is they've not immediately and not as soon as it did. So it's but I think eventually they probably still would have got their freedom one way or another.
That's how I feel.
Whether it be a revolt or whatever, you know what I mean?
That's what I mean. Like, okay, if the United States was all a confederacy instead of a union, I literally think it would have just ended up in due time. People would have changed anyways. Because the only thing that really, the big thing that makes Confederate different is that the states kind of have their own little decisions more than like coming from the central government. So I think in due time, everybody would have been like, you know what, yeah, let's just get rid of this. I mean, change would have happened no matter what. But in this movie, they made it out like, nope, at 1855, it just stopped. And it was just like, it was that thing where it's just like, put some intelligence into your movie. It's kind of like when they make those like hate movies. Like I never watch them, but like there's that that Barack Obama one that was just like he's a terrorist.
Obama's 2015 or whatever.
Exactly. It's just like when people make those hate movies, it's just like no thanks. I don't like that stuff. Don't.
I didn't even watch that.
I didn't watch it either. But
they have the high contrast to make him look all like demonic and shit.
But you see like stuff like that. It's just like no. Even with people I don't like, I just like hate's hate. Doesn't matter who it is. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. No, I get you. I mean, I am kind of curious about that Birth of a Nation movie. The whole thing about them taking the name doesn't really bother me at all. I mean, it's just basically seems kind of like you're trolling the values of the original because it is kind of the same thing. Because I mean, it's basically like The original was, what if there? I mean, it kind of goes up to a point, like a Lincoln's assassination, the war, this and that, and then um, an uprising, like a slave uprising, happens, but it's portrayed in a bad way. Where this, it's portrayed. I've seen the trailer, and I'm not gonna lie. I think what the movie's gonna be. I think it's gonna be kind of like, yeah, all these white slave owners are bad and all that,
Hmm.
but the cost, because what happened in the Nat Turner Revolution, I'm no expert, but what happened is they did have an uprising and they did kill a fuck ton of like families, like just literally children as well. And I think it's going to be one of those things where you see how you get pushed to that level. Like it's probably going to be presented something kind of like, well, it's not a, it's we it's this is how you get pushed to something as extreme as that.
Yeah,
I
it kind of
think that's
shows
what's
how
gonna.
it comes. Yeah, hopefully it's just not like such a super one-sided movie and not pushing
I
in
mean,
your face.
if it was more one sided, if it was a more one sided movie, I kind of understand because there's only so much shit you can take from someone, when you're like that. But
Yeah, well, you
at
know
the
what I mean,
same,
though. It's like
but I
it's
think
kind of
it's
like
gonna
it's
be
like how
more
you
of
make a
a.
good war movie is you don't make it feel like there's the dirty Japs, let's get rid of them. You get both sides of it.
Exactly, and I think this movie is going to be something to the effect of like, I don't think they're going to make the white people that empathetic, which they don't need to be, but I think they are going to do something to like, maybe like, how do I put this without sounding too PC or sounding like too like insensitive about the whole
Just
thing?
say it
I guess they're
because
going
this
to.
is the whole thing about that. I was thinking about this the other day. We have, in a sense of like podcasts and all this stuff, we have all this freedom here, and then it's almost like the backlash to all that freedom is
Mhm.
PC has been pushed to the limits of like how much like people are like getting insensitive nowadays. But maybe it's due to the fact that we had so much freedom with like the internet and being able to say whatever we want.
Oh, I got something to say about that in a second. I think it's gonna be one of those things like, I think they're going to present it in a way like, okay, yeah, a lot of children died, or like, I'm not sure how, if a lot, but some children, they killed some like white kids in this, which is very, very fucking tragic and very, very bad. But it's this kind of like, it's the way you treat people is how they got pushed to this in the first place. So I think it's going to be one of those movies where like, yeah, one side is more right than the other, but it came at a cost kind of thing.
Yeah,
I'm just
it's
guessing. We
yeah.
won't know till the movie comes out because it doesn't look like a movie. I mean, it looks like it's shot beautifully, and I bet it's gonna be. It might even be kind of like Rambo 4, right when or
If it's
right
like
where the
Rambo
part
4, I'll be there. If it's like that, like that sounds badass.
where or like if it even does like the Rambo 4 thing where you're just like, oh my god, these poor
If there's
slaves,
like
and
this
all of a
black
sudden.
guy just driving a boat, like in the beginning, he's like, "Yeah, that's what I do now." He's like, "Come on, we need to hire you. They say you're the best."
Well, no, like, well, it's like one of those things though
He's
where
just
it's
like on a
like
Gatling gun at some point, like, "Ah!"
just taking out all
These
like these
Confederate
like guys
soldiers running by and
that
everything.
look like Colonel Sanders, just like blowing up, just like a bunch of like a Colonel Sanders army running at him.
Parts where they like
No, no,
chucking
if it
babies
is
onto like
that,
landmines and stuff. Well, I guess it wouldn't be. Can't.
well, that was the thing about Rambo 4 is it was one of those things like it has some genuinely hard moments to watch, but then when you get to the end, you're like, kill that motherfucker,
Exactly.
I don't think this movie's gonna do that. I think it might have hints of that, but I think it's gonna have like, oh, the atrocities of what, like, this is how you get here, this is how you do that, that. But I could see it being one of those things where if it did do Rambo 4, we're just like, no, fuck them, like, yeah, kill those white people. If it does that too, then all right. If it really gets you in the mood for it, then all right, cool.
No, well, yeah. If it has an ending like that, it sounds badass. That's like what I always kind of wished, like fucking Dances of Wolves kind of had. Because at the end of that movie, you're just like, fucking kill all those fucking Union soldier motherfuckers. Like, you think the Confederates are bad? Look at those fucking Union soldiers. Kill their fucking stupid asses. And then, like, you just kind of know because like the poor Indian guys like walk off into like the deep cold wilderness, and you're like, they're all fucked. They're all fucked. I know history. But if Dances of Wolves just turned at the last second and all of a sudden they fucking got a Gatling gun somehow, some way,
2 minutes to midnight by Iron Maiden starts playing.
no, it's just like Run to the Hills because that's almost kind of like what that song is, anyways. But instead they're blasted from the hills.
No, I mean, I'll probably see that. I'll probably see that Nate Turner movie regardless, or Nat Turner movie regardless. It's actually, I'll say this: if it kind of this has almost been my main factor. If it's within walking distance of me, it's almost kind of like my main factor of what movies I go see now because I hate hopping on the bus.
Yeah,
But
I just hope it's not one of those. All I hope is I just hope it's not one of those kind of like reverse racism movies or something like that. That's always kind of like the fear nowadays. Well, not even nowadays. You get that like a lot. Where they feel like they're doing something right, but then they almost end up being just as racist, but in a different way. It's kind of like there's that original Spike Lee movie. What the heck is that one called?
Do the Right Thing?
Yeah, Do the Right Thing, which that movie should be titled Do the Wrong Thing, because that is literally what that movie's all about. Because it's just like that movie's like such like the reverse racism movie, like pinpoint. It's almost hard to watch because of that. For the fact that you watch these, there's an Italian guy. Okay, he's maybe not like the greatest guy. It's not like he's racist or anything like that, but he does kind of notice that like his section of town's changing. He understands that. But throughout this movie, you just watch this poor fucking Italian guy just get tortured. I mean, there's a guy that brings a boombox in, playing it at full blast, and he won't fucking leave. Like, and then in the end of the movie, they end up just fucking burning his goddamn restaurant down. And he's sitting there on the street being like, this was my entire life. I worked for 45 fucking years on this restaurant, and they just burned my pizzeria down. Like, what the fuck? And it's just like, I always remember watching it like, what the fuck? It's like, what is going on in this movie? It just makes you pissed off. Even though there's a bunch of good actors and a bunch of stuff like that, it's just like, that's like, okay. It's like, I mean, like, yeah, there was like a little bit of like maybe like white race, but you saw where it was coming from because these guys were fucking like torturing this guy. It's like,
Now I can't speak on that because I never seen the movie, but I've heard enough about it.
But it's like, yeah, it's weird.
I heard you say you liked it up until the very end. I remember you didn't you say that?
I enjoyed the beginning of the movie, but once I saw that, I was just like, it's just that thing of like, I don't know, I just don't like. I hate watching somebody get like kind of like tortured and then like have all their shit be like, and then it's like it's all fun. As far as that movie's going, it's like I'm like, yeah, whatever, fuck that guy. You know what I mean? Fuck his pizzeria. He's just trying to make a living for the last 45 years. Fuck that.
I will say in something kind of like the whatchamacallit, the new one, the Birth of a Nation movie. I will say that one I think will be a little harder to be kind of like.
It's not like this. Guy, he's got his fried chicken joint. He's been working on it.
I'm not gonna feel bad. I think it's gonna be harder to feel. I mean, understandably so. If that movie generally paints white people in a bad way, I get it because it's the South. 1830s, 40s. It's kind of like, yeah, I don't really know how you're going to get them across as the good. Because the one thing I'll say is, even in movies that still like promote like, even movies about like that are supposed to be about like black empowerment. Sometimes you still got like not even the side character, but like they get like, hey, I'm a reporter who just wants to help out and do the right thing. Let me tag along, Martin Luther King. It's a white dude, and it's like, okay, so we're gonna have, or like I didn't see the movie, but like. The Help, about a white girl who decides to help out some black maids in the South in like I think it was the 60s, maybe the 50s. Mm-hmm. So it's like that kind of shit. I mean, we still have a little bit of that, but I think it's starting to go away. But to speak on,
I mean, this movie's from the 80s, so I mean, it is definitely a different time period. So maybe that has to do in it. But you just feel so bad for like this, mainly the Italian owner guy. You can maybe say like one of the guys that works for him is like slightly racist, but not really like more like old timey racist. Like they don't mean it to be racist. They just kind of like say some things. But you watch the fucking owner guy just get fucking tortured through this movie. It's like fucking Hostel, but if you're like Italian guy, it's just like for some I don't know what it is. Spike Lee must have just
Italian guy living in Queens or something.
Spike Lee must have just had something against the Italians. I don't know what it was. And the thing is, it's like I really like Spike Lee movies, but I watched that movie and it's just like it's literally called Do the Wrong Thing, because the right thing would be not to fucking just start a fucking riot and burn somebody's business down. That is totally the wrong direction to go.
Is it one of those things because people wanted him to like hang up some pictures of some black Americans or something and he wouldn't do it?
Well, they have this one. They're like, why is there no black guys in your place? He's like, well, I'm an Italian guy, because it's like not even a white guy, it's an Italian guy. And he's like, well, I just got these are my favorite Italian boxers. These are my favorite. It's like it's a fucking pizzeria. Like, what do you expect to be in there? You know what I mean? It's
yeah.
It's just one of those ones, and it's this guy's fucking restaurant. And whatever he wants to do, it's his place. Like, why would he have a picture of Malcolm X? Did he meet Malcolm X? You know what I mean? Like. Mm-hmm. It's just so.
Doesn't someone going in the end like tack a picture of Malcolm X like on the building as it's burning down?
Yeah, it's got like that too. It's just like, and it's like by that stand. I remember when I watched, I'm like you fucking clearly didn't understand Malcolm X. You know what I mean? Because it's like Malcolm X would never have fucking done that, at least towards the end. There would have been that time period where he did think that, but he thought, in due time, he realized that, no, we all got to fucking get along. That's what it's all about. You know, when I went to Mecca, I saw it all. White people, Italian people, black people, Asian people, everybody was together. Everybody was fine. Everybody was friendly. Like, you know, it's not this thing that we all got to live in different areas. And then he goes back and some guy's like, yeah, well, fuck that. Bam!
2 white guys solve racism.
So
that's what it's turning into. But
it really is. But it's like that's my only fear. Is I hate that reverse racism thing. Always just kind of bothers me. Where like that, it's like that does not fix the problem. You were just doing it. You're just doing what they were doing to you, but now you're doing it back. It's that eye for an eye thing.
I think sometimes people take. Let me put it this way. I guess reverse racism. It's got a slippery slope here. I think the thing about reverse racism is that we're at this point where we kind of are aware of how, like, because before it'd be like, well, you know what, that wasn't you, that was your ancestors. It's not you now, you know. I think, but now that's kind of coming to light that actually no, they kind of, a lot of African Americans are in like a rougher spot than, you know, and a lot of what there is almost kind of like some white Americans are way more entitled and. That whole white privilege thing don't even notice. I kind of, you know, there's things like that when you're younger you weren't really aware of it, but now you are. And I think there's certain things you kind of let slide, and certain things, that's not even the right word. There's certain things kind of like, you know what, I think a black comedian can get away with making fun of white folks because I think it's, you know, as long as he's funny with it. Like I think Dave Chappelle, because every once in a while you hear that argument, why is it black comedians can make fun of white people, but white people can't make fun of black people?
That kind of always bothers me, like that kind of thing, because I just, once again, it's that reverse racism. Like now, when you say Dave Chappelle, Dave Chappelle does it right because he's making fun of everybody.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's example, like, well, not only, you know, he's actually genuinely, and I don't think that's always the case where people say, oh, well, a black guy can't make fun of a white guy. I don't think that's the case. As long as you're just funny with it, as long as you're genuinely funny. And some of Dave Chappelle's best shit is on white people. That's the thing. And if you're just a white guy coming out just saying like stereotypical black jokes and there's nothing really funny about it, you just kind of look like an asshole. There's no way around that.
Yeah.
I guess that's one of those things that, like, so I think in some context what's going on right now is,
as long as you're not like Kevin Hart and you're still pulling those jokes nowadays. Because nowadays I feel like if you do that today, then you just kind of look like a black racist. Like, because Kevin Hart did that in a couple of his movies where, like, he just kind of spouted off just like, oh, because I'm black, because I'm small and black. And it's just like, okay, Chris Rock could have done that in the 90s, and that's fine. But by this point, it's like, it's that thing, it's like, dude, everybody's fucking pretty much equal nowadays. Like, there's always going to be that person can complain, but it pretty much is true. If you're in the U.S., everybody's pretty equal. You know what I mean? Well, the president's black. I mean, like, you know what I mean? The next, pretty soon, hopefully we'll have a Mexican president, we'll have an Asian president, we'll have everybody, you know, around the world, because we can just, it'll be fine. Nobody's going to care, but, you know what I mean? So I just don't, I feel like that's just being, it's almost like de-progressive to, like, say, hey, you know what, let's just still make fun of these white people. They did that for a while in commercials. That used to always bother me, where they'd always make the white guy like, I'm a fucking idiot. And the black guy's like, goddamn right, you're a fucking idiot. And that was like, it's like, that doesn't help. That's worse.
Well, I still think that it's one of those things where we definitely are way, way further along than we used to be. Some people say we're not, but we definitely are way further along because we do got a black president now, like you said. But
like you said,
it's one of those...
this just sounds funny.
Like you said it. You said it. I didn't say it. He fucking said it.
I didn't realize he was black this whole time. You know, apparently they
oh, he is.
It's just like, holy
shit! It's all clicking together now.
God, geez, I'm glad you pointed that out.
No, but like, no, but it's one of those things. Like, I still think though there definitely it's for. All right, here's an example. Here's a really good example. I think there still is. I think white people still get away with things more than black people do. Here's an example. There is that whole, and I'm not trying to make a broad generalization, but here's a really good example. There was those fucking dumbass rednecks who took over that bird preserve in Oregon a few months back.
Oh, yeah.
Here's what pisses me off about that. A, that's already a stupid fucking thing. And you would just see small little updates about it here and there, and then news cameras going in there and interviewing them. And, you know, so I was just kind of like, okay, whatever. But then it escalated to the point where somebody got shot. And that's where, like, you motherfuckers, you shotgun and shot somebody. Then you look, all right, how'd they get shot? What happened? And this is where I find out they were apparently, even though they had the place on lockdown and they're armed, they were allowed to leave and come as they go. Like, hey boys, so we're just gonna go on out. We're gonna go down to the local grocery store, grab us some eats, and come on right back. Okay. And the cops would fucking let them do it. The cops would
Oh
literally
yeah.
let them come and go. And that's one of those things right there where, let's be honest, if it was like anybody other than white, any race other than a white race, Fox News would have been losing their fucking shit. And this would have been like, they would have made this, they would have called this terrorism. They would have called this anything else
Oh yeah,
than
well,
what they
yeah,
were calling
it's
it.
not
Rather
saying
than
that there's not those bad Fox News, Republican, Walmart chug, owning people out there.
Oh yeah, but that's not even the case though. What I'm saying is like, this is one of those examples. I'm not saying that like, oh, of course there's fucking horrible white people out there. I mean, that's history's proven that. What I'm saying is this is one of those cases where
Fucking Biscuit pirate guys.
Yeah, if this was like a group of Middle Eastern people that did not have some kind of Islamic agenda, and they just happen to have the same kind of opinion, but one take that down, that would have been done day one. Day one, there would have been like full on lockdown. Or if it was a bunch of black guys that took it down, same fucking thing. But it was a bunch of good old white boys. It was like good old boys kind of going back and forth between town. Like, we're gonna be right back. Go get some groceries. Okay, you go do that. All right, don't go starting up no trouble. That's where it's just like, are you fucking kidding me?
Because these are pretty much homegrown terrorists.
That's like going, I know this is going months back. This story's ancient by media standards, but it's one of those things where it's like, if that right there was kind of a big eye opener for me, because I already knew that there was, and then you got the influenza kid, which was who was some stupid little fucking entitled asshole who got fucked up, killed I think like 7 people in a car crash, went on the run, then claimed, well, I'm so rich, I was kind of like born into like a different, like, I don't understand what right and wrong is, and then he fucking tries to escape to Mexico. So
Hang that
and
guy
then
in the street. That's all I have to say. Sometimes there's these old west tactics. There's a reason why they did that back in the day, and I feel that like it goes to show it's like, dude, you can't just be a fucking dick and like just think you can get away with all this stuff. Like, that sort of thing, and it shows the town like, hey, don't fuck around, like, we're serious about this. But now I think
that's influenza boy.
But nowadays, when you kind of hide this stuff away and you fucking put your Jared guy in prison when he probably should just be hung in front of the fucking subway and have kids come by with baseball bats and hit him. Like,
let's just do that, because there's only so many foot-long jokes you can make about Jared.
Exactly. Now, so let's just turn him into the human pinata in front of fucking Subway. We'll tour him around like fucking Jesse James back in the day. He'll be on ice, just all beaten and bruised from like children hitting him with baseball bats throughout town. Like,
and don't take this as me being kind of like, the fucking like the anti like white crusader or something like that. Don't take it as that. I'm just saying there definitely still is.
Once to get some like hate mail, like, I see what Dunigan is. He is the man who is against the white man.
These fucking honkies, man. Let me tell you. Nothing drives me more angry than a fucking honky, I tell you, man. No, I will say though,
honky.
That's even one of those things like. That is just so clearly someone that movie.
Like, it has to
that's
be.
So clearly, the guy's like, "Yo, man, honky on your left," but you could tell it was just like the producer came in. Let me do this. Honky on your left. There, it sounds slightly racist, just slightly.
Yeah, he's like, we gotta get across there. He's racist. Probably because it was like, yo, nigga, check it out. That honky over there on the left. He's like, okay, we can't have that in a fucking 007 movie. Please change that.
But I mean, I'm not trying to sound like overly politically correct here, but it's one of those things where there definitely is still like some people that get away with white entitlement, and it's kind of bullshit. It's still there, but I think it is coming to the forefront more and more, and I think people are becoming more aware of it.
And I think it's not necessarily white entitlement. I think it's just we still have just rich people out there that get away with shit. It doesn't really make a difference.
Some rednecks weren't that rich.
No,
one of them was. One of them was. The one guy
they're probably still all in. They're probably police officers. They're probably all corrupt up there. It's like I'm pretty sure they were all in it together. That's one of those weird things. But I feel like in general, it's not necessarily just because somebody's white. I think it's because a lot of times these rich people just still walk around with everybody because we're not 100% equal yet as far as like that goes. We still have that capitalist mentality that's been let run loose, which it should have never happened. but it's been like a big problem for the last 100 plus years or so, since kind of like the Industrial Revolution. So these people kind of can get away, like that fucking kid that can like kill people and get away with it and just be like not really that big of a deal. And if he does go to jail, he'll go to like fucking country club jail where he's playing fucking tennis and shit, and then he's out in like 4 years.
That kid's going that right now. Well, they put him like on like 2-year probation, not allowed to have alcohol because he was like 16 or some shit when he did that. Then they caught him on like someone caught him on like on a camera phone at a party playing beer pong, and he's laughing like, and then like then he was like on the run to Mexico, and they caught him, and he was just looking all fucking like. So now they got him again. I think now he's actually doing 2 years in real jail, but that still don't match like
not,
7 people.
And he's probably still not even like. He's probably still in some white collar jail. I bet you he's not in like full on like. Mm-hmm. Gang rape jail or anything like that.
Send you to 2 years and pound me in the ass prison.
Yeah, exactly. But, well, those are just things that, happen, and, well, you got to just kind of look at the funny of it, because that's about the only thing there is.
You gotta dig for the funny. But
you gotta dig for funny.
You'll hit something.
You can take a bad thing and put a funny twist on it sometimes, and just it's like the Jared thing. Bad thing, throw him up as a fucking human pinata. It's kind of funny.
Take a swing, kids. Go on, take a swing.
come right now. It's like, I'm the Connie here at the Subway, and here you go. There you go, Johnny. Have one half off a sandwich there. Come on in.
It's like some kind of like 1920s kind of like xylophone music playing.
The guy's just got like that like red and white kind of like candy cane colored shirt. Oh, come over here, Billy. Come on.
With a cane, like the flat hat, like he's a member of Barber Quartet.
Yeah. But
see how he likes the foot long. Ha ha ha. Yes, I know that joke's been made, but we'll do it again. Never gets old.
Yeah, Billy, bend him over and shove this baseball bat up his ass.
Oh, Billy likes that. You sick fuck. Ha ha ha. You, Jennifer, how about you next?
Take a swing now. Take a swing. How hard can you hit the Jared? Oh, boy. But the sad thing is just those people kind of, they still almost just get away with it just because, like, the way it's so sad. It's only downfall that, like, that kind of prison system is, like, it works for some things, but not for everything. And nobody wants, it's that thing of, like, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, I think
sweep it up under the rug, and it just kind of goes away.
Yeah, I think it is one of those things where I haven't even kept up. I almost just avoid the news. This today became a very political episode.
I don't know how it did, because I even stopped kind of watching news articles generally, mainly for the fact that this is always my kind of view on it, because you meet these people out there in life, and they're just always watching the fucking news, and they're always kind of angry and stuff like this. And here's how I feel. That's fine, but if you're not going to actually go out there and do something about it, I almost feel like this sounds kind of weird, but I feel it's best just not to even see it in the first place. I just think that it's one of those ones, if I can't go out to some country and help them out, physically, then I almost don't want to. It sounds bad to say, I don't want to know, but, I'm better off just kind of going, just leave me in my animation world where I'm drawing and hidden away from society, and it's fine, Fuck, if I'm going to look at news, I'm going to look at what, new Batman movies coming out, and that's going to be it. And I almost feel that's better, because I just notice, when you look at the news is just depressing and not really fun anyways, and I think that you could focus on better topics. I think they obviously make it way more depressing and worse than it is. They want to have that, fear factor going on. So I just don't avoid it. It's just, you'll see some articles that come up here and there, and obviously you can't kind of escape it because of other people, but in a sense, I'd rather be sort of in my sheltered animation circle and just stay like that. It's fine. And
I'm at the moment, I'm kind of it's weird where I get my news primarily. Every so often, I'm at least a couple times a week, I'll go on YouTube and I'll look at I won't watch the whole show, but I'll look at certain stories by the Young Turks. They're a political news channel on YouTube, and they also got a podcast, and I'll check them out, and they tend to be pretty liberal on the left side, and I don't watch every single story, but maybe I'll watch all the big ones, maybe regarding the election, or sometimes they'll have like a couple dumb fluff stories like any other news channel. But as far as I know, they're not bought out like MSNBC or something like that. But yeah, so I'll check them out, and then Stephen Colbert, because he always covers the news, maybe a little bit of Daily Show. So that's kind of like, in all honesty, maybe other people saying, oh, they're like, I used to listen to the BBC podcasts, but even BBC podcasts would still depress the fuck out of me. And I felt like it was a little more sincere than something like CNN, but it still felt like I was still just getting depressed listening to it,
Yeah, it's just one of those ones. It's like, if you can't go out there and physically solve it yourself, I just don't feel like it's worth listening to in the first place. And I know that some people are like, well, you want to know because you got to know. I'm like, does it change anything by knowing? Does it make it different? I mean, yeah, okay, maybe you're aware, but there's some things that, you're probably better off just focus on your task at hand and call it a day. Like,
I mean, I'll vote on the issues that I think are important.
Oh yeah, well, like,
I'm not gonna lie.
Civic duty because I'm a goddamn American, and even though I don't get really a good choice at like who's the voting seasons is going to be an interesting one there, and we might be all fucked for all we know, but still, I mean, do my civil part.
I'm gonna say this, and I don't even need to, but this is gonna like make me look a fucking dumbass. I usually never really give in to those like donate for this charity or anything, because I don't really trust them. I don't really agree. I don't really believe they're going anywhere. And I believe it's kind of like whatever dollar, if I send like $1 to this like charity, 2 or 3 cents might actually go to the people that need it.
Yeah.
That's how I feel majority of the time. That being said, and this is going to make me look like a total fucking dumbass, back in 2012, when they had that whole Coney thing, I donated $5 and signed the petition.
To the Coney Island?
You know what? You don't remember the whole like Coney 12 thing?
Was that like the restore the Coney Island thing?
No. Okay, all right.
I was like, well, boy, your things are weird. It's like, I didn't know you were such a classic carnival enthusiast.
I was just a Coney Island enthusiast, and I'd never been to New York. It's just such an important staple of American culture. I felt that it really needed my $5.
Well, I don't know. Maybe it was. He's like, that there's a poor carny out there who's sitting under a bridge, eating a half-eaten hot pocket.
Like a Bruce Springsteen song.
Yeah. You're the man down by the river with a stale.
On the Coney Island Bridge, eating this half-hot pocket.
Stale and brown.
And trying out of the ditch. Took a minute for that one. No, all right. So let's go on the Wayback Machine for a minute. So, somewhere in, I believe it was South Africa, there is like one of those warlords that recruited children. The guy's name was something Coney, and he was just he was apparently on record for being one of the most notorious and one of the worst at the time. Mm-hmm. And this guy made this video. It was, not going to lie, it was a really well-made video, and basically how he took in a child soldier, raised them and adopted them. He was like a member of their family, and he kind of told all these stories about things they had to do. And then it was this kind of thing like, we're not trying all this money. We're going to try and raise money so they can continue to hunt this guy down and find him. We're going to try, and what's going to happen is we're going to try and let everyone know about this guy, spread this guy around, spread this video around. If you can, donate some money. I'm like, well, you know
you're
what?
Like funding a militia is almost what you're like paying for some mercenaries. That actually sounds kind of like a
donation. It was something kind of like donate to at least for awareness and to get these kids, to kind of get the kids out of there, because it's one of those things like there is like something passed to keep on looking for him, and if they got enough signatures, enough support, they can continue looking for him. So it's basically they're almost advertising it more on the aspect of kind of like getting these kids out of there. And I'm not gonna lie, I got sucked into it like every other dumbass that signed this fucking thing, and I was just like, no, you know what, I'm gonna do something about it. I'm gonna do something. So I fucking, America. I donated $5. It was basically, they're mainly advertising on the sense of getting these kids out of there, getting these kids out of this guy's army and all that. Mm-hmm. So I signed the thing. What happened?
A little kid shows up at your doorstep.
kicks me in the balls, takes $5 and runs.
He's like, bitch, I'm living here now. Why? Well, you signed away your apartment. So I can
you got
live
me
here.
$5. What?
Yeah, here, you can have your $5, you cheap fuck.
So then, what ends up happening? What happens next? Then, I'm like, okay, so I sent the thing. I mean, and like the news story kind of disappeared. I'm not sure if the guy was just a hack or what. A month later, the guy who made the video, who was in the video, kind of like saying all this trying to inspirational shit, is fucking caught jerking off in public in San Diego. Going crazy.
Oh my god! So you
like,
you pretty much just gave that guy $5.
One time, I fucking say, you know what? I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna try and fucking help somebody with this shit. I'm gonna actually try and donate. It goes to the guy jerking off in fucking public.
See, that's where I feel like I'm not against donations, but I feel like they should go.
Goes directly.
Yeah, I think they should always be like a direct. I don't really like the middleman donation. I think that's always kind of the weird one.
And they were advertising saying, I could have, I guess, done a little bit more research maybe, but they were saying it goes all directly to the cause and all that. Like, okay, cool. So now I'm just like, now right after that happened, I probably could have gone my whole life and no one would have known. But I was like, don't want to be a fucking hypocrite. I'll just admit it. So here I am.
I paid for a guy to jerk off and.
Yeah, I paid for his moist towelettes to fucking wipe that mess away out in public. So.
That's like a shameful donation.
At least I didn't donate something. It was like only $5, but it was,
yeah, it was like you donated like $1,000,
500 or something like that. Like some people did after seeing that thing, and because I'm not gonna lie, the video was well made and all that, but I just felt like so like fucking like oh my god, of all the things I could have donated to, I got tricked by this bullshit.
Oh. Look, yeah. Well, what can you do? Those are just things that happen. I don't know what else more to say. But it makes for a funny story in the long run. I guess that's what it is. You got a funny story for $5.
I got a funny story, but these kids are still stuck in fucking.
You got to look at the positive and everything. If you look at the positive and you make a joke out of it, at least it doesn't sound as bad. It doesn't sound sad and depressing like the news would make it out to be. Like Ryan Dunigan donated $5 so that a man could jerk off in public in San Diego.
This is the BBC News.
Yeah, I know. Instead, we're like, you fucking paid for him to jerk off, You paid for his fucking tears of sadness that he rubbed on his thinking about children in South Africa.
It was just one of those things like, fuck, once that happened. But yeah, whatever. I guess that's life.
Yeah.
It's life. You give someone money, they go jerk off in public.
Exactly. Bound to happen. Well, I want to give a little bit of a shout out. I know this is kind of like turning the car in some other fucking weird ass direction, but why not? Give a shout out to the Rubber Onion podcast because they gave us a nice little shout out in their last episode or 2 episodes ago or whatever it was. But it was like obvious. They have this little animation battle thing that happens every month where people kind of put in little 15-second animations. I'm like, that'll kind of break up the monotony. I'll make one. I'll make it as simple as possible. I'll just use what I kind of have and just do that. And then next thing you know, it's like. I made this Wallaby on Mars one, and I realized that the only thing I didn't draw was fucking Wallaby and Spunkle's faces, but I drew everything else around it. My whole goal was trying to make something that'd be like really fucking easy that I could just utilize whatever we sort of already had drawn and just throw it out there. I'm like, if anything gets a little bit extra publicity, could share it on there. But it was kind of nice, he talked about the podcast on the show, talked about our Daredevil one like that, and we got, I feel like we got a handful of more followers just because of that one little video, so that was kind of...
Thank you, Rubber Onion.
So yeah, they got a fun podcast where they mostly talk all kinds of animation news. Got a bunch of cool like technique stuff on there, and if anybody's interested in freelance animation, it's a cool place to go. But yeah, just want to throw that out there before I forgot. But that's probably a good place to also leave off too. Remember, kids, that $5 might not go to children in Africa that need it. If that's something we learned today, that's the moral of this podcast: is that don't be racist, don't be reverse racist. And sometimes that $5 doesn't go where that $5 was supposed to go.
Yeah. Just keep that in mind, kids. The more you know. Just a still frame of that dude like in his underwear jerking off in public with the more you know rainbow going over him.
Well, also, I think next week what we're going to do, if you want to join in on the fun, is we're going to do a podcast on the classics, well, I guess modern classic, Denzel Washington flick. It's not Magnificent Seven yet.
Just prepping us up for it.
I know, prepping us up for it because, they're in a fallout mood right now for all sorts of DLC. So we're going to do, I'm fucking trying to blank on the title. That's why I keep going.
Book of Eli.
Book of Eli. I don't know. I was like, what the fuck is that movie called right now?
Denzel Washington is the man with no name, basically, and he's in the post-apocalyptic future. So
it's really, I looked at it's like the closest thing you can get to a Fallout movie. If you're playing Fallout and you're like, fuck, you know what I want? I want a movie that's similar to that. Well, here's one. It's pretty damn close to being like a Fallout movie. So we're going to talk about that next week in all its fun, fine glory. But until then, make sure to check out oldmanorange.com for more podcasts, cartoons, music, and more. You can follow us all over the place with all kinds of stuff. Just type Old Man Orange in, and we'll show up somehow, some way. If you want to help support the podcast, we got the good old Patreon page. Go there and donate. Everything kind of just helps out a bit. If you want to buy something from Amazon, well, check out one of our Amazon links. Hell, I'll put ones right below the description here. Doesn't cost you any extra, but if you use that link to get to Amazon, they'll send us a little something back.
You can follow me at Dunigan Ryan on Twitter. I'm also Grit5 on Instagram.
And you can also follow me at Spencer S. Holmes on Twitter. And I actually recently, just to have it, I'm like, you know what, for future references, we might as well just have this. Who knows? But I've made an Old Man Orange page on Twitter, and I had to call it Old Man Orange Pod because... one, cast wouldn't fit in there, and two, somebody already had the Old Man Orange one because there's that character from fucking
Okami.
And somebody has like a Okami character page of that. And we clearly didn't name ourselves after Okami. That all kind of came up later. We named ourselves after fucking Clockwork Orange and like Old Man from Neil Young and all that shit. And Old School. That was like the other one I remember being in the equation. Yeah. Sounds like the fucking weirdest like title thing. It's Neil Young, Clockwork Orange, and Old School. That created...
Well, it's kind of funny. We could have just gone Clockwork Orange and like Old Man, but we went Clockwork Orange, Old School, Old Man. Okay. There's an extra step that doesn't need to be there. We took it anyway.
Exactly. But yeah, look that up. Help support us all there. But it's Old Man Orange Pod on Twitter. If you want to follow that, like... I kind of just got it like partially set up and not really gone the full distance yet. But it's there. It's something to follow. It'll just be an easy way just to share when we get new episodes and new cartoons up. But till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And have a good old time. Bleh.
See you later, folks.
Thanks for listening to the Old Man Orange Podcast. Check out our website at oldmanorange.com for even more podcasts, cartoons, videos, music, and more. Send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review us on iTunes, Podomatic, or any of the other fine sites we might be located on. And if you want to help out even more, click on the Amazon or GameStop links on our webpage before you make any purchases there. It won't cost you a penny, but it sends us a little something our way. Thanks again, and tune in next week for more Old Man Orange Podcast.